Welcome to the JAMODI Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders, so let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, we are all searching for ways to better evaluate players in order to give meaningful feedback. Over 15 years ago, I put together a test called the JAMODI Skill Rating. The JSR takes players through a series of tests involving basketball skill or athleticism, giving them one rating at the end. Their JSR rating will give you clarity on what needs to be discussed with players and parents on areas they need to focus on improving. I test our players at least 4 times each year. They're able to compete against each other, past players' scores, and most importantly, their past performances. If you'd like to start testing your athletes, email me at jamodipodcast@gmail.com for more information.
We only have a few. One, you'll love this. This is probably new. I don't know if you. So one that we have is you cannot text anyone on our staff, "Hey coach," because 9 times out of 10, that's not going to be a good text. You say, "Hey coach, can I leave a little bit early for this class?" All in one text, not just "Hey coach." And then an hour passes by and you're in class and the coach is sitting there just thinking like, what is he going to ask? What is he going to ask? Because it's usually not good. So just go ahead and just ask the question all at once. And that's something that we talk about early. And again, it happens and we address it and we change it. So that's one for
I
you.
never thought about that. I never thought about. You're so right, though. The
How
hey
many
coach
times-
texts
how
are
many-
not good.
Hey coach. It's not, "Hey coach, you're doing a great job." Like,
Hey coach, I just want to let you know, I hope you have a great day. I can't wait for
love that.
practice.
Always, "Hey coach, my internet's out in the dorm." Hey, I mean, it's always something. So let's
Hey
go ahead.
coach, I've been throwing up all morning. Just so you know, I won't be there. Yeah.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
late. Yeah. Let's just go ahead and address it all at once, which it happens. But yeah, so we emphasize that early. So that's something that I try, and then too, this is hard actually in today's world. This is hard, but we don't let our players put on D&D on their phone. Can't be do not disturb. Can't be on that at any time. If you're going to live on campus here, you have to have that off. And that is a coach's worst nightmare is D&D, because you're trying to get a hold of them and you can't get a hold of them because it's not ringing, So we have that talk early as well.
I love those 2 pet peeves right there. I think there's a lot of coaches that are probably like I just did, writing those down. I'm going to circle that and highlight those because a little bit different with the second one at the high school level. They probably are doing that less because parents also need to get in touch with them. And then we could all, even though we don't want to do this, we could just go straight to the parent. Hey, can't get a hold of Johnny. Will you go get him out of his room or whatever? But for you, I think that's one that a lot of coaches will resonate with.
You're in charge of them away from home. And I'm a parent. I have 2 beautiful kids. And I think, I take that role extremely seriously, serious. So if I need to get a hold of you on campus, usually it's not because I want to ask you how the weather is. Usually it's because we need you to do something, or like hand in homework, work assignment, or, come get treatment or whatever it is. We got to be able to get a hold of you. So, and that's something that we have to, again, like we put it out there early, but it is a month-long process. Like, it's going to happen 12 times. And again, you pick what's important in your program. Well, that's 2 things that are very important in our program. And it may seem little, but those things are important to me. So they're important to the team.
And those little things become big things.
Absolutely.
I think the way that one of our standards is excellence. And we always talk about excellence with our communication. And I have a 24-hour rule with text messages. They need to respond to me. If it's a question, like I send out Tuesday texts to current and past players every Tuesday. I got that from Buzz Williams. And it's just most of the time, it's just a motivational quote. Hope you have a great day, something like that. If there's no question, I love a thumbs up. I love a fist bump. I love a thank you, whatever. But I don't require that. But if it's a question and if it's information that I need back, then yeah, there's a 24 hour. I'm thinking of even moving that to 12 hours because maybe I don't usually do it too late at night, but let's just say at 9:30, I send out a text. It's pretty important. And for some reason, they're already asleep. Probably not happening, but maybe. Well, then by 9:30 the next morning, we need to have that answered. And like you said, these things, everything we've talked about, you can take basketball out of it. These are life skills. If their employer, if my AD texts me and I don't get back to them for 24 hours, man, that's a withdrawal from that account. And I want to keep that account full. And I want to keep and really what we're talking about is trust. With the D&D, lack of trust. With the hey coach, pause forever, lack of trust. And we want to keep that trust up between us.
That's a great point. That's a great point. You're right. You're exactly right.
Coach, I'm moving to a new school with assistant coaches. They've both been within the Midway program, but they're kind of moving up in roles and they haven't been around me that much. And a few weeks ago, one of the guys just point blank in the office said, "Hey, coach, what are some of the responsibilities? What are some of the things that you would like for me to be in charge of and do?" And it caught me off guard. As a guy that I've been at my former school, they were all part-time coaches, and I'm so thankful for the time they were able to give. But they were coming from their jobs, and so I just kinda did everything, and so now I'm in this role where I'm gonna have these 2 guys with me every day in the period. We have a conference period together. We're gonna be doing life together even more now. What are some ways that you delegate with your coaches, kinda divvy up responsibilities with them?
Yeah, I think that's huge for our level as well. Just like the players are trying to move on, our staff is trying to move on as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's the head coach's responsibility to help with that. I do if they do a good job. You know, I think that's extremely important. And I mean, we've had a lot of success with that. I had 8 D1 coaches who used to work under me. So I think that's important. And I think how you do that is you create ownership with it too. So you say, hey, you're in charge of like out of bounds plays, for example. Okay. Shouting out of bounds plays. Well, that coach is going to do that at a really high level because you are giving him ownership. And if we're not prepared on the out of bounds plays, clearly it's your fault because I gave you that responsibility. And you have to trust your staff. You can't do everything. It is absolutely impossible. You know this too in a game. In a game, half the time, you're just watching the ball. You're following the ball the whole game. So there's stuff that you don't see.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
think that, creating ownership with guys, if you trust them, you got to be able to trust them. But if you're hiring them, usually you do trust them and it helps them grow. It helps them improve. When I was at Northwest Florida, I got to run the defense. And that was big. That helped prepare me for a head job. It just did. And it created opportunities for coach to worry about who's tired, who needs to get in. He's an offensive guy as well and all that. I think it helped our team. I think it really did because I knew if we weren't prepared, it was on me. Like that's my job. And I think you got to put your ego aside with that. I think it'll help you be a better coach if you learn how to delegate. When I was a young head coach, it was hard to do. It was hard to do because I wanted to do everything. And it's impossible to do that because eventually one thing's going to lack on that. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna drop down in production. It just is. So, and I think too, you need to let your coaches exactly know what to do. There's no gray area. It's black and white. Okay. It's not like, oh, coach, I didn't know. No, it's here's what's expected. Okay. Here's what your job is. And you get graded on that. And that's what life is. And again, I'm trying to prepare them for the 4-year level. So at that level, you get scouts and you have to learn how to talk in front of a group. You have to learn how to put together an edit with film. You have to learn how to know, okay, that's a little too much information. I need to erase a few of these things. It's too much. You only learn that if you try it. So when I try to help our guys get jobs, I can say, hey, he had all the scouts on the defensive side, and he's a phenomenal part of it. He did a great job.
Yeah.
So when he gets the job, it's not going to be just a complete disaster. He's going to have experience doing that. And this as well. It takes time to learn how to talk in front of a group. It does.
You need reps. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, everybody thinks it's easy and just get in there. Like, no, those guys are reading you. You have to figure out when it's too much, too little. You have to pick what's important, especially in today's world where it's attention spans are not that long. So I think it's kind of your responsibility as a leader to empower them and to get them better. And I think too,
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, how many times have you talked to a friend and they're like, man, coach, I don't have any say in the practice plan. I just show up to practice. Like, I don't really think that's a good organization, because you want to meet every time prior to practice. Here, you're in charge of this drill. You're in charge of this drill. I want you to take this. I want you to watch this. I want you to watch offensive rebounding. Who's crashing, who's not, and your staff will take ownership with that. They really will. I have not ever been like, man, he's not prepared to do that. Like, that's not ever happened to me. And I think you have to coach him up on it, but they can do it. That's why you hired him in the first place, And I think we've all had people in our career that have helped us with that. I know I have. And I think it's just the responsibility you have, just like a player. You got to move these guys on, man. And I think I'll put what we have done against anybody in the country with that. And I think that's a big, big responsibility that a head coach has.
So many golden nuggets there. A few things that I kind of jotted down to go through it. First, and you just nailed it right at the end, but first is hire what you want. As a coach, do you want guys that want to be head coaches? If you do want that, and in my opinion, it's a good thing to do, hire guys like that, because they will be hungry and they will want to do more. And the more that you give them, the more you can take off your plate, then the more that they'll be able to, or they'll want that. Or if you want a guy that doesn't that does not have that aspiration and just wants to be on staff with you for the long haul, man, Doug Ash comes to my mind. He was Dave Bliss's assistant coach for 30 years. 30 years. He never wanted to be a head coach. He just wanted to be with him. And I would imagine that was super valuable for Coach Bliss to have that type of continuity. So hire what you want. And that may go to what you're looking to hire. I think you nailed it with ego. I think sometimes we lie to ourselves and say, well, I'm going to do everything. My voice is the only one because I just really want it to be done the way that I want. Well, I think that's ego talking. The fact that you think that the way you communicate or you teach or you view the game is the best way, and that anybody else doing it won't have the same effect, or there'll be a wasted time. Man, I got to get over myself. I got to trust other people. I got it. And one thing that Coach Drew said, I got to do the hoops talk with him. He was my first one 4 years ago. And he said the way that coaches treat each other, talk to each other, trust each other, players are watching that, and they're going to mimic the way that if a coach, and let's just say we watched in last year's March Madness, this past year's March Madness, assistant coach come behind this guy and him mouth shut up to him. If we could see that on TV, players are seeing that too. So I think we have to trust each other, that and instead of having ego or pride, maybe that pride is the fear of losing, the fear of it not being what we think is the best. Let that go. And then Dwayne Silver legendary coach down in this area said it best. Coaches want to work. Give them things to do, just like you said.
Yeah. Yeah. And too, I think it also, creates relationships with that coach and the players. I mean, if he knows that coach is in charge of the offense, it's going to make your job easier because he's going to go to that coach and ask a question. And if he's in charge of it, like he's going to have the answer. And it's going to create just some ownership with him and the player. But it's going to make the head coach's job easier because you can't do everything. It's just impossible at an elite level. You know what I mean? Like you can do it.
Yeah.
But there's going to be something that's going to be lacking. It just is.
Love that point that you can't do everything. You can't see everything. And I think so often, even if we have one assistant, 2, 3, at the Baylor practice yesterday, I think they had 6 assistants and I counted 9 managers, and some of them were grad assistants that were former college players. There were so many bodies on the floor that it was fun, though. It was fun. It was fun. Yeah, it was fun to see their organization. And then for me in my notebook, writing down, okay, how could I do this? Right. And so instead of looking out at the practice and be like, well, of course they do it. They can do it like that. They have these bodies. Sure. But pare it down, simplify it, and make it work for what you have. But because we can't see everything or do everything, I think we coach as if we're select coaches. When I was coaching for Darren Williams Elite, it was me and 12 dudes every day. That was it. And coach, I had to coach everything. And I was trying to have a one-on-one talk with every player, every possession. It was exhausting. And so let's not act like we're in that environment when if we have one guy, 2 guys, one thing that Coach Drew did really well is I wrote this down in my notes yesterday. I said, he's the CEO of this practice. They started off all together and they had some cool celebrations. And then they split into skill work. And his 2 or 3 main assistants took each end, and he just floated back and forth, giving a little thing, clapping, getting some touches. And I thought, man, like, what a great example for all of us. Now, if it's just you and your team, yeah, you better come. You better do movement prep. You better get ready to have that sweat equity in because you're going to be probably even jumping in. But there's other ways to do it too.
Yeah, there is. And I think, like I said, I think it helped. I mean, he's had a lot of guys like who have, grown into head coaches on his staff. I think that helps the Baylor brand. I think that helps the program. It's going to hire other people. It just is. You can say, hey, I've had 3 assistant coaches who are now at the D1 level, but that's big. Like you're going to get a better guy. And I think too, just the human element of it is like, we're all in the foxhole together. This is a foxhole. And, your job is to get guys going and to jump over that hole and to attack. And if they know that you trust them, I think they're going to push harder and fight harder. And like I say, it's not ever been a disaster. I'm like, hey, you're in charge of this. And it was just, man, that was bad. It's never.
Yeah, you're fired. You're never again. That was your last time.
But hey, here's what I need. I need A, B, and C. Okay. And so you know exactly what I need. You may be scared at first to do that, but I haven't ever been like, man, he's not prepared to do that. That's not ever happened.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.